Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all.
Best toy-based cartoon!
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it.
You know what?
You're right. We got this.
Best toy-based cartoon.
Hal, you sent me down a rabbit hole once again today, my friend.
I never mean to. Whenever I see a topic, and this one is from Court Jester, aka Kyle on Discord. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Kyle.
I see these things and I think, oh, this is something Mark and I both grew up with. We can speak about it extemporaneously. I remember the main players. I remember some of the smaller ones that aren't going to win that we can throw in there as little Easter eggs. And then you send me a full documentary.
Yeah, I did. Here's the thing,
Did you watch it?
No, it's 6 episodes long. I read the article about the documentary. But I have actually, this might actually be the documentary that I did previously watch.
Okay.
Because I had seen a documentary about this same topic before. This is a fascinating topic to me. It's a great rabbit hole to go down because you introduced me to the acronym PLC. Do you know what a PLC is, Hal?
I don't, but I'm excited for you to tell me.
A PLC is a program length commercial. They existed for 6 years. They only existed thanks to good old Ronald Reagan's deregulation in 1984, where kids' entertainment was, there used to be a rule that you couldn't advertise a product if the product was featured in a program. But they changed that rule in 1984 because Reagan liked changing regulations, and then they reinstated a version of it in 1990. But for those glorious 6 years for kids, all of the kids of the 1980s, they were subjected to, victims of, and I'll also say beneficiaries of these performance-length commercials that began in the form of Mattel saying, hey, we really missed the boat on this Kenner Star Wars toy tie-in thing. Somebody make us a cartoon. So somebody made a cartoon called He-Man for Mattel, which is now getting a big screen version, not to be confused with the old Dolph Lundgren version.
Yes.
Yeah. And then He-Man opened up the floodgates for all kinds of toy-based cartoons we had. I would say the big players are the Care Bears, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, the aforementioned He-Man, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Transformers. Am I missing any big ones?
Thundercats is a pretty big one. Also, there are some of these, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an adaptation of a comic book that then became completely different in an animated series, which was made to sell a toy line. G.I. Joe is a relaunch of the 12-inch figures created, also, I believe, they were Hasbro at that point, but the term action figure was created for G.I. Joe to explain, this is like Barbie, it's fully posable, but these are soldiers of fortune, first soldiers, then soldiers of fortune during the Vietnam War when that sort of fell out of favor. And then when they relaunched in 1982, it became, let's create, we need a Marvel comic series, and then we need an animated series to support this. So these cartoons, some of which have stood the test of time and have rabid fan bases, almost all the ones you mentioned do.
Yeah.
A lot of them were created to sell toys, and that is a devious thing, as you said, also a wonderful thing. I still have a lot of toys. I mean, we've been through the amount of Star Wars toys I collected, which is the reverse. It's merchandising for a film that nobody thought was going to be huge. But I have He-Man figures. I have a full Skeletor over there somewhere. I have a Manny Faces. I collected a lot of these toys.
Yeah.
Throughout my youth, and I'm sure you did too.
He-Man, well, it's funny. He-Man were the ones that I really loved. I was all about He-Man. Something about that, even now, seeing his blonde, banged bob and his big, bright red, kind of looks like the award that the German military gave for shooting down allies.
Yeah, the Iron Cross.
Yeah, the Iron Cross that he wears right in the middle of his chest.
He's proud.
To his fur loincloth. I was obsessed with He-Man as a kid. Loved all the characters and had all the toys. That was mine. Some of these, to be honest, it's weird. It's moments like this that I feel more like an elder millennial than a young Gen Xer. Because even you being a couple of years older than me, the only of these shows that really resonated with me was, well, He-Man, because I loved the toys. I think I watched the cartoon as a side thing every once in a while. I was more about the toys and imagining my own world with them. I was more about that than I was the cartoons. But really, it wasn't until Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I was 8, that I was fully cognizant of these cartoons. Like, honestly, I don't have a lot of memories of Thundercats or of Transformers outside of the Shia LaBeouf movies or My Little Pony or Care Bears. My sister was huge into Care Bears. So I'm going to lean on you a lot for the answers and the content of what these cartoons did. But there's a few questions. There's a way that I would like to approach this, and there is a question I would like to answer first.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, because I have something that I hope will not break your heart, but I want you to ask your question first, and we can do it in the natural flow of this. Go ahead.
Well, hold on, and then now something's going to break my heart, Hal?
Yeah, I think what Kyle is asking is for these shows that were a result of deregulation, where the
ones between 84 and 90.
The show exists to sell toys, or the toy line was created and then they made a cartoon to help sell it.
Yeah.
I think that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
doesn't count.
Is more of an adaptation of a comic book. It is a children's adaptation. Mm-hmm. I mean, it occupies a gray area, I think. G.I. Joe too.
Sure.
G.I. Joe didn't have a television series until 1982 when they relaunched the line, and all of a sudden they needed a cartoon to sell it.
Yeah.
So that's just stuff that's going through my head. But please ask your question.
Okay. So one way that I would like to approach this is just the quality of the cartoon.
Yes.
The quality of the cartoon itself obviously is going to be a big thing. But
for sure.
Based on the rabbit hole that I went down was from the Canadian Broadcasting Company. And it quotes a lot this Dr. Selma Purak. And Dr. Selma Purak is the one that put this whole thing together and is an expert, has written the book on these 1980s cartoons. She teaches at Western University. Was part of this Stay Tuned series. And her claim is that all of these shows revolve around three things: the desire for security, affection, and or power that Gen X latchkey kids in particular feel they lack in their lives. So that, to me, I think is a fascinating thing to look at, because I never thought of these cartoons as being that before. And furthermore, she goes on to talk about how the reason that the toys were so successful is because if the cartoon created security, affection, or power, then the toys became the extension of that. And if you carried around your Care Bear, you felt protected, you felt secure. And that to me is just something that's kind of the mind trip of this whole thing, which leads me to the question I want to ask before we dive into the quality of all of these.
Okay.
Was it worth it? Was the deregulation worth the cartoons that we got?
I think if you ask a number of people, many of whom have goatees and flat bill caps that I see at shows, and that's not a judgment, that's just a general style trace of it, or just people like these toys and the series that were spawned to sell them have become part of pop culture, and it's too deeply embedded to say, well, would you rather not have Optimus Prime? Because the toys probably would have sold okay. They're a smart idea for a toy, a thing that transforms into another thing, because it's a part puzzle,
right,
part car vehicle, a part toy vehicle, and part robots that fight one another. It's got everything that you need, but without the series, without the lore around it, it didn't really, I don't think, sell properly. The reason why the Star Wars toys were such a huge deal is because people went bananas over the movie.
Yeah.
And like you said, that idea of power or feeling safe or just whatever your connection was to that as a child, to be able to have a small piece of that in your home that you can play with and relive parts at any time, that's really powerful. And that, I think, more than anything, would have led to what came after, because that toy line tied to a piece of pop culture was so strong and nothing like that had existed before to that level, that it almost paved the way to go, well, I think we figured it out. We just have to tell a story that will hook them in, and then they will buy Mistor. The Masters of the Universe is just a water gun.
Right.
Or this guy oozes. This guy's got a dial and changes his face. This guy's just a beast.
Look, man, I had all of those. And Mistor, I was obsessed with Mistor. Because he's a snake man that is really just like, you could fill that with anything. You could put bug spray in it, and then guess what? Mistor is now keeping bugs away from you while you're camping. It's just a spray bottle.
If you work the samples counter at Macy's, it's a really inventive way to get people over and have them try your scent.
I, Mistor, shall give you Chanel No. 5. Psst.
I think that it was devious, and I don't think deregulation is generally the right choice. That's my personal opinion by and large. But in this specific case, I do think it was worth it for what we have gotten from it since.
Yeah.
As a collective group of humans who love a thing and now constantly have it available to us in different, like I've auditioned to play so many of the Transformers.
Sure, me
in
too.
Different animated stuff. I'm sure you have too. Like, isn't it extra thrilling when you see like, oh, I auditioned to play Starscream years ago.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? The idea of like, oh, I could be part of that world that I loved as a kid. It still impacts you. And that may speak to certainly Generation X and also elder millennials, that idea of like, these were our friends as kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I tend to agree with you on this, that the cream rose to the top, and what the contribution to our collective pop culture mythology that the cream of the crop made, does that forgive the possible nefariousness of this is purely fictional in my mind, but there could very easily have been a Joe Camel cartoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then they're advertising cigarettes to kids.
There was a California Raisins cartoon to sell raisins to kids because that ad took off. And then there were toys everywhere.
Yeah.
So California Raisin Council or whoever did it, they grabbed onto something, and that was a golden age of merchandising things.
Do you feel like the California Raisins, they kind of shot themselves in the foot if nutrition is what they were going after? Because they were like, eat more raisins. And they invent these amazing, colorful characters. And then we want those colorful characters. So they start putting them in kids' meals in fast food restaurants. So instead of eating more raisins, now I'm eating more fries.
Yes, that's true. And you don't want to eat your friends.
No, man, those are my buddies. I can't eat this raisin. It has sunglasses and a saxophone. That was the coolest raisin, right? Like Smurfette, I think there was only one lady raisin. You know that lady raisin was like, guys, everybody else get out of the way. Saxophone sunglasses guy is my raisin.
Yeah, that's who I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
We're gonna go do an album, just the two of us. The rest of you are cut loose. We can find it. Look, I know a lot of the Wrecking Crew people. We can find a good bass player.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that. Well, look, they did that cover of "I Heard It Through the Grapevine." Oh my gosh, I just got that.
Oh, this is going to be such an episode of discovery for you.
Oh, it already is.
So do you want to, because we only have a little bit of time before break, do you want me to rattle off some toy-based cartoons and their toy lines that maybe you've heard of that would definitely not win this?
I was going to say, let's come up with our list of contenders. But before we do that, I just want to point out, because I think we are going to look at this particular window, because if we're looking at all of the PLCs, then we have to look at the way that television has moved forward, and that is to streaming. And like so many other things, we as actors know this better than most. All bets are off as far as FCC rules and the rules of broadcasting and contracts and law and all of this. Once you're streaming, it's no longer under the FCC's jurisdiction. It is the Wild West. And so PLCs have proliferated online because they're not on television, and they don't have to follow the same rules that this 1990 law put back into place, which means now Hasbro has an entire network. I think it's either like an online network or they definitely have a studio just up the street from me. Yeah. And I realized in doing this, I was in a PLC.
You were? You played Batman in a PLC.
I played Batman in a co-production of DC Kids and Fisher Price because they were selling DC Super Friends toys. So
that's right.
My hands are not clean in this, but they are hand cowled. What do you call a hand cowl? Just a glove?
Yes, a hand cowl would be a glove. That's right. Sure. Or just a napkin you throw over there. So let's do a couple of, I'm just going to give you a couple forgotten, maybe ones that you've forgotten, maybe some that will spark memories for people out there. We're going to start with Mask. Do you remember Mask?
I absolutely remember Mask. Those I was obsessed with because the toys, you could take their little masks off.
Yes. And if you're not aware, MASC, I believe, stood for Mobile Armored Strike Command. And it was a series of, it was sort of on the Transformers phase. It was a group of people. They would get in their vehicles. Their vehicles would be two things. So Matt Stryker was the leader. He was in, I think, a Firebird where it would turn into a plane. There was a Jeep that just turned into sort of just a more heavily armored Jeep.
My Jeep transforms into more Jeep.
Yeah. Oh, a motorcycle that turns into a helicopter. But the crazy part of this is I think Boulder Station was the name of where Mask, the good guys, that was where their base was. And it was a mountain in front of a gas station. So in a world where everybody's fighting with vehicles that turn into other things, these dopes decide that they're going to put their headquarters at a place where everybody needs to come refill. And something I might add that is highly flammable.
Yeah.
So if one bad guy figures it out, like, hey, have you noticed we're losing a lot of people over by Boulder Station? Maybe we should just blow it up. It is made of gas, and I know those gas lines go down into that mountain in their little computer room that they have. So those dum-dums would never win. Do you remember the Centurions?
Real quick.
Yes.
On Mask, the way that Mask has stood the test of time was during COVID when everybody was selling cool, kitschy masks. My two favorites were Spaceballs the Mask and one that had the logo of the cartoon Mask on it.
Very smart.
Yeah, so fun.
Very smart. Do you remember, Mark, the Centurions?
No, I don't remember the Centurions.
The Centurions were, I think, 3 guys, land, sea, and air, who, those weren't their names, those are just their areas. And the toys, they were like sort of mid-size. They weren't Star Wars size. They weren't quite 12-inch, but they were like fully posable. And then they wore suits that had a bunch of holes in them, front and back. And then you would snap on attachments that would make the air guy, he would have like a jet that would form around his suit so he could fly. And the underwater person had like a submarine that formed around his suit. And the other guy had wheels and stuff for his suit. So they would fight stuff. That was the toy concept, which is already a little iffy, like kind of neat, but not really. And then they made a TV series out of that, which, as you can imagine, did not help sell toys.
No, that sounds pretty lame.
Yeah. I also think I just need to very quickly confirm that the game, it's not Wing Command. There was a toy where it was like a laser tag, but the ship was the gun, and you would buy a VHS tape and you would shoot at the VHS thing, and then they would have a weekly television show around it as well, but it wasn't animated, so it doesn't count. I can't remember the name of it, and therefore it does not matter. That is another thing that I don't think would win that. It is Captain Power is the name of it. Thank you, Ken. Captain Power. Terrible show. That cost a lot to make. They worked hard on it. I think they got a season out. There is a documentary, I think, about, or at least an article about Captain Power and the making of it, because it cost an exorbitant amount of money to make, but would not win. Those are the ones. GoBots also. You remember GoBots?
Sure. GoBots were what we had because my parents didn't want to buy Transformers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had Transformers and then one GoBot, and you could tell which one was not a Transformer. I had Scooter, who was the cute little guy. I guess he would be like the Bumblebee of GoBots.
Yeah.
That would be sort of the equivalent. And then Psykill being the name of the bad guy who turned into a motorcycle was cool, but clearly did not hold up. The people who like it are the same people that are like, I still have a Betamax player. It's going to come back.
Yeah. No, it's not. GoBots to me felt a little bit like they were what Duplo is to Lego.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. For the younger kids.
They're slightly younger, way less detail. Like, Optimus Prime turns into a truck. This GoBot turns into a Tonka truck.
Right. Yeah. I mean, those I think are the main also rans. Like you could talk about Popples and things like that.
Sure.
But
and hey man, don't sleep on my boy Bumble Lion and Rhinoki. Weren't the Wuzzles, they were another one of those
Wuzzles,
toy lines?
I think I think you're right.
I love me some Bumble Lion and Rhinoki.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, they're great. Great idea. Great idea. Would love the toy. Didn't last.
See, that's the thing. Some of these, the toy is great, but when you try to put them into a real world situation or a cartoon story, if you try to tell a story like, hey, this guy's half bumblebee, half lion. Okay, what's the story? Doesn't matter. He's half bumblebee, half lion. We're going to sell toys.
That's exactly it. And that I think ultimately is what the winner will come down to in this. And there is more than one finalist where the quality of the story that they've told, there are some that have lasted, some that didn't, and some where it's like, well, I guess we're sort of now that I think about it, Mask is a great toy idea. This is sort of the same as G.I. Joe.
Yeah. It's just, it's
but G.I. Joe does it better.
Slightly futuristic G.I. Joe.
Exactly.
Shout out to Mark McConville, who still, every time I think of G.I. Joe, I cannot think of them without thinking of that one thing that he said one time, which was, I can't believe how undisciplined 1980s G.I. Joe are. Oh, you're good with a bazooka? Sure, you can wear your football jersey. It's one of the funniest things I ever heard. I had to throw it out there on here. It is not mine, but man, it made me laugh.
Mark McConville is a genius.
He is a genius. We all know that. That might be a second time I've mentioned that line on this show. For some reason, it feels familiar.
It bears repeating. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Let's come back. We're going to talk about the ones that you think we're going to talk about. And one of them, and only one of them, will win Best Toy-Based Cartoon.
Yeah. Is it DC Super Friends?
Stick around and find out.
Hello, this is Alex.
Hello, this is Katie.
We host Secretly Incredibly Fascinating, and this week we released our 250th episode.
250! D.
Every episode stands on its own.
And every episode is about a seemingly ordinary topic.
We reveal the history and the science of stuff like salt and clouds and your computer mouse.
And episode 250 is about the word hello.
Hello!
You know that word. You're ready to go.
So let us say hello to you. Find Secretly Incredibly Fascinating at MaximumFun.org.
Hi, is this Brennan?
This is Brennan.
This is Ben Harrison. I'm the host of The Greatest Generation and Greatest Trek, along with my buddy Adam on Maximum Fun. I am calling because you, Brennan, have been named Maximum Fun's Member of the Month.
Oh my God, I'm so honored to be the Max Fun Member of the Month.
As Member of the Month, you'll be getting a gift card to the Max Fun store, a special Member of the Month bumper sticker, and a special priority parking spot at the Max Fun headquarters in Los Angeles, California, just for you. That's a perk that I don't even get as a host of shows on the network.
This all sounds fantastic. I'm going to have to figure out a way to use that parking spot.
Brennan, you have to do it. Just to rub it in my face alone. Have a great day and live long and prosper. I don't know how to do this.
That works. I will do my best to live long and prosper.
Become a Max Fun member now at MaximumFun.org/join.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the heavy hitters? Are we going to agree about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here? Where do we feel about it? Because it is
I'm
not.
fine with that being out.
I think we take it out. I do think we take it out.
Even though it was drastically changed from the comic book.
True, and it has continued to evolve, and it's a great property, and it continues to create new toys. The toy line is fantastic. I think the toy line got away from them at a certain point, but it would meet all the requirements. Just something about it not starting as a toy line to sell, but rather they're adapting an existing comic book.
Right.
That to me is a little bit, I can't get there on it.
Okay. I mean, look, I'm on board for that. So what are our contenders? Let me see if I can guess. Since, again, you know these better than I do. I have a little bit of knowledge of them, but I will throw some out, and I'm going to say G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, He-Man. Transformers.
Yes.
And Strawberry Shortcake.
Strawberry Shortcake, created by American Greetings. It was a toy line. I think it started as greeting cards.
Oh, the scratch and sniff greeting cards, huh?
I don't know if they were scratch and sniff, but I know that's where she started. And then that became a toy, which, they could create a toy out of it because she was popular, and they created an animated series about it. That I don't know if that's too close to. I mean, it feels like something a lot of people had that the cartoon doesn't really endure as much as the toys did. Yeah. And that would be like, as much as it branched out everywhere and was everything, it just feels to me like the thing we remember the least is the animated series.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I remember the toys really well because my sister had them, and I was fascinated by the fact that they smelled not like just plastic and whatever food I had on my hands when I played with a toy.
Super smart way to sell those toys. Cool toys too.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Good twist. Do you want to include Care Bears?
Tell me the behind the scenes of the Care Bears.
I don't know how much about the behind the scenes of Care Bears I know, other than that they're a plush line. They definitely fit that idea of like comfort.
Yeah.
They make you feel like loved. It's about being in touch with emotions. It's about everybody has to work together and do the Care Bear stare and have their little tummy icons shoot lasers out of them. It turns out they are weapons of mass destruction that just decided to be a force for good.
They have the same weapons as War of the Worlds. Just a beam of energy.
Yeah. Pure energy.
Yeah.
They're all mutants. They are memorable.
They are one of those ones that looks like the toy is. I think they do a great job. I think they're a contender because you've got these toys that represent different emotions.
Yeah,
you've got the rainbow. You've got the cloud. I don't know their names offhand.
Sunshine Bear.
Sunshine Bear. Yes. Cloudy Bear. I don't know, man. But it does seem like a great version of. Well, we have this toy line that each of these characters represents this thing. why don't we, in that moment where they're like, okay, well, let's tell a story with them, for it to say, caring is magic. We can all get together. We're more powerful when we're together. All emotions are okay. It feels like it was doing something that the Inside Out movies did later on, but in the 1980s. So I think they're a pretty good contender in this.
Yeah, it paved the way. It's definitely paved the way for like what it means to be in touch with your feelings, which is important and great.
And a very good carry around toy for the security of it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And the notion of if you're trying to get power and comfort and affection and safety, you can really get that from the toy because it's a teddy bear. It's tale as old as time of toys that provide you with those things. But the cartoon shows you that those things can ultimately come from within you.
Yes. And they also were American Greetings. So American Greetings hit 2 home runs.
Do you know where the Care Bears are now if you want to meet them as walk-around characters?
Detroit?
Yes, just the streets of Detroit. They are officially, they're now doing the Care Bears live show and meet and greet at Global Village in Dubai. So that,
wow.
Every theme park nabs itself a intellectual property. Six Flags got Warner Brothers, Knott's Berry Farm got the Snoopy characters, and Global Village in Dubai looked around and went, okay, who's not taken? Care Bears? Great. Grab them before someone else does. So Care Bears are up there for me.
They're Dubai. They're in a Barum in another land where they hang out. It's not anything like that. It's just where they hang out.
I get it.
Tenderheart is there. Grumpy Bear.
Oh, good. You found
Funshine.
the names.
They're very cute. The Funshine I remembered. Grumpy, I was like, it can't be Grumpy, can it? But guess what it is?
Yeah, it turns out Grumpy Bear's a thing.
Yeah, they're definitely a contender. You want to talk about Thundercats?
You'll have to do most of that because I was never a Thundercats guy.
I feel like Thundercats, honestly, the toys weren't that great. The cartoon was maybe a little bit better. The toys were fine. There's a lot of like switches on the back that made you do things, and it does feel like something that's lived and continued to have more iterations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we're looking at the combination of the cartoon and the toy, I don't think it's a finalist.
Okay. Look, I will go with you on this one. I don't know much about the Thundercats. You know what? I used to get, and this is crazy, it's like, I used to get Thundercats and Voltron confused because it was like all a group that came together to make a thing. Are we counting Voltron in this?
No, Voltron is too old. It's not in that.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I believe the toy became really popular, but I think the toy capitalized on an existing Japanese animated series. If I'm not mistaken. And I will say the funny thing about Thundercats is they all arrive on this planet and Lion-O is like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happens. I don't remember what it is, but he like overnight becomes the adult leader of the Thundercats. Like they all wake up and they're adults. And then he's like, hey, everybody, it's me, Lion-O. Come on, Snarf. And his little like, Snarf, his little pal.
Sure.
Those with him like that. Snarf didn't grow up. We didn't get like a cringer into Battle Cat situation like we did with He-Man. He was always just sort of young and cowardly. He's like, what happened? Imagine if Calvin turned into an adult overnight, how Hobbs would feel.
I mean, I don't want to see a world where Calvin became an adult.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Mm-mm.
I mean, we all saw his adolescence. We loved him as a kid, but once he became an adolescent, he just started peeing on things on trucks.
He hates trucks.
Why does that guy hate trucks so much?
I don't know. Maybe because they're loud. He might have sound sensitivity.
Yeah, that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else do we want to talk about?
I think the main three.
Oh, you think there's a main three?
I mean, the main three that we have not discussed are Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Masters of the Universe.
Well, let me ask you this. Does G.I. Joe count because it was a toy line long ago?
Here's where I think we may have some latitude.
Because you like G.I. Joe, how?
No, the original 12-inch line faded away, right? And then after Star Wars, Hasbro was like, we should bring G.I. Joe back. We're going to launch it, but we need a story. It's not going to be the same as before where it was like Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Navy SEAL. Like it's not that or the later Soldier of Fortune treasure hunter. This is now G.I. Joe is an elite fighting force. So we're going to tell a brand new story for a brand new toy line that we're trying to launch. And we're going to set up Marvel comic books to support it. So I would argue while it uses it's the same company using the same name, it is a uniquely different toy line.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's talk about G.I. Joe. I do like what G.I. Joe did as far as taking something that was, militaristic in the real world and gave it a clear villain. The military stuff is messy. So if you're going to create a cartoon, you have to create an obvious, clear bad guy. and an obvious, clear good guy. And there's nothing more 1980s than doing that. And I think they did a good job of it. I don't know that the characters are as memorable as they are in other lines, or maybe it's just because I didn't watch as much of it, but I'm familiar with Cobra Commander.
Okay. Who else do you know?
I know there's the Cobra Commander's the one with the metal face, right?
That's right. Sometimes he wore a blue hood.
Yeah. And then there was a guy who looked like a blue wizard. No, a metal wizard. Who am I thinking of? There was like a
Destro?
Destro, yeah.
The weapons dealer?
Yeah, the weapons dealer.
Okay.
Sure. Those are the ones on. And Snake Eyes. I know Snake Eyes because he didn't talk and I liked him in the movie.
Right. Snake Eyes. So do you also know Storm Shadow?
No, the rest of them are Storm Shadow's the one all in white, right?
He's the Cobra Ninja. The two, he and Snake Eyes would always fight one another.
Yeah, can we just have them?
They're either brothers or knew each other.
Can we just have the Shakespearean tale that is those guys? Because the rest of the characters, honestly, I saw the movie, and after the movie, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are except the cool ninjas.
Were you watching the more recent reboots, the live actions?
The live action ones, yeah.
So you did not see the animated film that came out in the 80s?
No, thank you.
Okay. They had a movie, and Transformers very famously had a movie that was Orson Welles' last performance.
Oh, dear.
On film. I think there are a lot of very memorable G.I. Joe characters. I think because you didn't play with it, you don't think of like Duke and Lady J and Scarlet and Flint and Roadblock, Barbecue.
Was Roadblock,
the
please
fireman.
tell me Roadblock was just a great big soldier with a lawn chair?
He
just got in the way.
He carried a giant chain gun. There was Bazooka, who wore a football jersey.
So great. So great.
You had Quick Kick, who was a stuntman that joined G.I. Joe because he helped them once and they were like, you're with us. And then, of course, what is the name of the sailor who had the parrot? I don't remember his name. Shipwreck. That's right. Shipwreck was like, hey, how's it going, everybody?
Let me ask you this.
Yes, we're Salty Dog and Polly, his parrot.
I don't know much about G.I. Joe, but it sounds to me in describing these characters, except for the female characters that you've mentioned so far, which I'm going to guess may have been also problematically 80s looking. But it seems like the bosses at G.I. Joe just went into a room every morning and went, okay, writers, what's butchest?
I mean, yeah, isn't that what happened in almost every room around these three toy lines? It's like, what's a new thing?
Yeah.
What's a new testosterone fueled toy we can create? And so there is some of that. There was a lot less distinction on the villain side. So you had Cobra Commander, you had sort of the countless people.
Well, you don't want them to be
Baroness
unique
and Major Blood. Then you had Destro and the Dreadnoks, who were his three weird Australian sidekicks. Who had like a buzzsaw, a gun that was a buzzsaw, and a flamethrower. But then later on, they introduced like Dr. Mindbender, who created the main like he went and stole the DNA from all these world leaders to create the perfect leader of Cobra, which pushed Cobra Commander out. Serpentor was his name.
Hal, let me throw something out at you.
Go ahead.
This is all different variations and versions of soldier and weaponry, right? These are all they're all variations on weaponry with the details changed, but all relatively similar. And the show is, obvious good guys, obvious bad guys, and the toys are small figurines.
Okay.
In what world does that defeat a cartoon that also features heroes and villains, but instead of just being soldiers and weapons, every one of them is a vehicle that turns into a robot?
I mean, that's the whole...
toys are perfect. The storyline is great. You've got Optimus Prime, you've got Bumblebee, you've got all of the great and all of the. I used to buy I would buy the small Transformers that no one else wanted. I had a Transformer once that was a toaster. These are late era Transformers. I got a toaster and a microscope. But the idea that any inanimate object could become a robot. This to me sparks my imagination so much more than these soldiers they're a little rambunctious, but they're each good with their individual weapon. There's something so fun and magical about Transformers to me. What are we even doing here, Hal?
You want to just say Transformers are the winner?
I feel like Name something else that, and maybe it's gendered, that I didn't play with a lot of the ones that were aimed toward girls, but my sister had them and I enjoyed them. I love Care Bears. I love the Wuzzles. But as far as, and setting aside, with all due respect to Dr. Selma Purak, I don't know that I felt security and affection from Transformers, but I definitely felt power. Because if I have a toy that is literally any inanimate object they could make and turn into a Transformer, the intricacies of the toys were great. The way that they integrated them into the storylines, they had an incredible theme song. G.I. Joe had a great theme song too.
So did G.I. Joe. So did Thundercats. So did My Little Pony.
Yeah, they did all have great themes. That's a whole separate episode.
So did Masters of the Universe, although we don't remember. It's not really, the only lyric is He-Man. He-Man.
Yeah.
But it's all of the Cringer, my fearful friend, or whatever. The I have the power.
Sure.
It never gets cooler. Masters of the Universe never gets cooler than when he turns into He-Man.
No, it doesn't. But it is very cool when he turns into He-Man.
And Skeletor as a character is hilarious.
Skeletor's great.
Sniveling snitch.
Yeah, just
and then just
petty
running around.
skeleton.
And all of them have the exact same musculature.
Yeah.
They're all in exactly the same shape. So He-Man,
They're all
for
Tom
as
of
strong
Finland
as he
characters.
is, he doesn't get that much bigger than he is as Prince Adam.
No.
He just basically gets a sword
and a loincloth.
and a furry bikini. Yeah.
Yeah. Hal, what are we even doing here? Robots that turn into hot rods and 18-wheelers.
You don't want to talk about My Little Pony at all.
My Little Pony is awesome. My Little Pony is great. They had their own adventures. They had their own stories. Sure. Maybe that's the gendered thing that I was talking about before. I didn't really play with My Little Ponies a lot.
And they've had a bigger life, I think, beyond the 80s.
Sure.
They become a much
Friendship
bigger...
is Magic is awesome.
Friendship is Magic, a new toy line, comic books.
Yeah.
It's become much bigger, I think, since that period of time. But had it not been a huge success in that period of time, we wouldn't have gotten there. That said, people of the world, the battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons who destroyed their homeworld of Cybertron, just drained it of all its resources, and then come to our planet, fight over Energon cubes, and get a couple of humans wrapped up in it. It continues. It is the gift for toy companies that continues to give.
Yeah.
We continue to make movie after movie after animated series after animated series. The original show is revered. The toys were groundbreaking for when they were made, and it all fits in that time frame. 1986, I believe, is when the Transformers the movie came out. If you like Mark Wahlberg singing "You've Got the Touch" and Boogie Nights, that song is from the Transformers soundtrack.
Heck yeah, it is. And it's amazing.
It is. In addition to being one of the best toy lines ever, they built a lore on a very simple premise that combines, like, what if somewhere out there are aliens that can turn into vehicles, sentient robots that turn into vehicles? What if they came and visited us? And what if I was Chip and Bumblebee was my best friend? It combines that with all of the hyper-violent shooting lasers and everybody fighting all the time that was especially popular in the 80s and like the super macho war is cool again 1980s. It combined all of that, and the fact that it lives on to the extent that it does and just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger makes it the best toy-based cartoon of all time.
Asked and answered, Sam Witwicky.
Wow, that was a dang good, I forgot how good your Optimus Prime is.
That Mark Gagliardi, get the Allspark, put it into my chest.
Did you audition?
So that we can end the episode.
All right, Optimus. I'll pick up this Allspark here. Oh, gosh, it's hot. It's very warm. And let's just
put on gloves.
Oh, gotcha.
Mark, protect your
hand
hands.
Cowls.
Put on your hand cowls and protect yourself as you bring me the Allspark.
Plug this in here. Hey, there you go. How's that feel?
Great. See ya, sucker.
Hey, my Allspark. You turned into my car and left.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Sucker times 2.
Whoa. Hey, wait, you turned my phone into a little sidekick.
Ah, sucker.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
That's it. Kyle, thank you for the topic. What a fun one to revisit and walk down memory lane. But we did it.
We did it. This topic is closed, but there are more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or
you can reach us on the social media at We Got This Podcast, or on Instagram. We are at We Got This Show. We've got the Facebook group. We've also got Discord, bit.ly/WGT Discord. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for giving us a chance to talk about the cartoons we watched in the 80s for that brief window of 84 to 90. Sitting down with that big bowl of Cheetos, pre-flamin' hot.
Mild Cheetos?
Yeah, mild Cheetos and peanut M&Ms. Just that's a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Saturday morning?
Yeah. Don't judge me.
We might have to talk after this.
Don't you judge me. It was after my cereal.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. But we would love to do that with all of you, because you are the reason we do this show. We couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't do it without you. So to you, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported
directly
by you.